Hello again. Has anybody noticed that there have been a few anti-Trump headlines out there lately? Of course, I say that with tongue in cheek. Every day, the partisan news media attacks all things Trump. Their slanted reporting has evolved into a relentless, distorted, and disgusting endeavor to undermine our sitting president. They feed on each other like frenzied sharks attacking prey. This is in stark contrast to the coverage that they gave the last administration. I'm wondering, could it be that they are lashing out because they suddenly realized that their coverage of all things Obama had been so soft that they feared losing their skills to be critical? No. There's something much more sinister at work here. Now, you may already be thinking, wait a minute here. There was nothing much positive about Obama that I presented in my blogs in the past. How dare I complain about someone opposing a sitting president that they did not support? Let me be clear. I find nothing wrong with the expression of opposing points of view. I strongly support the right and ability for anyone to voice their point of view, even if those points of view may be disagreeable with what I feel. I always invite a civil dialogue from those who view my opinions, whether you agree with me or not. That's not what we're seeing here. There's nothing I see from the news media that is intended to inform you so that you can make up your own mind. They're selectively choosing what they report to influence how you think. They're shoving their socialist views down your throat. They're villainizing any view that conflicts with their leftist philosophy. They appear to feel that you are simply incapable of governing yourself. Oh, you need the enlightened leadership of the elites to simply exist. This slanted coverage that we get looks more like what you would expect from a banana republic. Or maybe from Pravda, the old Soviet Union communist Cold War news agency that fully supported the party line. Have to wonder, how critical would the American press corps be if the Trump administration were indeed toppled and replaced with a ruler that they found to be more in view with their progressive socialist views? Actually, there's really nothing to wonder here. Just like Pravda, I am quite sure that they would fully support the party line. Let's face it, this isn't anything new. Let's look at the last 40 years or so. They loved John Kennedy. They loved Lyndon Johnson. Hey, so did I. They hated Richard Nixon. I didn't think much of him. And when Nixon resigned, and for good reason, they became emboldened. They loved Jimmy Carter. They hated Ronald Reagan. They hated Reagan's charisma. They hated the support that he got from the electorate. And although they attempted to undermine him, their propaganda skills had not been fully developed. They were handicapped because they still felt an obligation to report both sides of an issue, at least to some extent. By the time William Jefferson Clinton took office, leftist professors had taken control of journalism schools. The game was on. Everything Clinton did was wonderful. Anything negative about him was swept under the rug. Those who opposed Clinton were rebuked. Their marketing skills had progressed by the time George W. Bush took office, and their bias had lost its transparency. The press was openly anti-Bush. And in the 8 years of the Obama administration, biased news reporting had evolved into full-fledged propaganda. Impartial reporting had become a thing of the past. Today, the press seems to be emboldened to the point where they are doing everything in their power to overthrow this sitting American president. Their attacks are relentless. They work in concert with leftists in Washington and elsewhere to constantly attack Trump. You have to wonder, what if they succeeded? Leftist governments have never, ever been fully supportive or supportive at all of a two-party system. They're threatened by opposing views. Totalitarian rule is a must when you have leaders like Hugo Chavez, Fidel Castro, Ho Chi Minh, Pol Pot, Lenin, Stalin, Mao. Our press will be quick to inform you about these men and all their wonderful accomplishments, but they will downplay and justify anything that's negative about them. The press will change the subject if asked, hey, how's socialism working out down there in Venezuela? Hey, how about Brazil? How did socialism work out in Brazil? And we, of course, heard right from the mouth of Raul Castro that Cuba has no political prisoners. And the press seemed to be too polite to question that statement. Just wondering what would become of all of us deplorables if the press succeeded in accomplishing their goal of helping a strong socialist leader emerge here in the United States. Would the press support to Stalin-like solutions or Mao-like solutions? Now, if you're young and a product of modern government-controlled education, you may not be aware of what I'm talking about here. You may not have ever heard of the purges, the gulags, the re-education camps, and simply the mass murders that were products of Marxist governments in the not-so-distant past. Google them. Do this while that information is still online. Ask yourself, would our enlightened journalists here in America look the other way? Well, as it turns out, that wouldn't be anything new either. American journalist Walter Duranty was a reporter for the New York Times in the 1930s. He much admired Stalin, he much admired socialism and communism. He saw that as the way government should be. His reports from Moscow downplayed the Soviet purges. He reported that these purges were limited to high-ranking government officials. Then in 1932, Duranty submitted reports to the New York Times that essentially covered up Stalin's artificial genocidal famine that was levied upon the people of the Ukraine to keep them in line. He was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for this magnificent piece of propaganda. Maybe the New York Times can establish a new Walter Duranty Prize for what it deems to be the most damaging reports levied on Donald Trump. Just a thought. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.